Greetings everyone, we will continue our discussion on information retrieval systems. In the previous session, we have started about the thesaurus and we have looked about various features of thesaurus. In this session, we will be looking about the construction of thesaurus, that is, how you are going to construct, whether we are going to construct manually or what are the features which you have to implement while constructing automatically. So, and also we will be looking at thesaurus construction from texts. Okay, so first, coming to thesaurus construction, the thesaurus construction can be done either manually or automatic thesaurus construction. So the thesaurus constructions are mostly done manually. So the implementation of automatic thesaurus is somewhat complex. So only few parts of the implementations have been identified, and this is a work in progress still. So we are having more of the manual thesaurus constructions, and those thesauruses have been implemented into the existing systems. Okay, we'll be looking about various parts of this particular thesaurus constructions. The first one is your manual thesaurus construction. So while performing the manual thesaurus construction, first one has to define the boundaries of your subject area. That is, what is the subject area which you are implementing, and what should be your level of the subject area implementation. So if you don't have this one, you doesn't know which specialized terms you have to implement in your thesaurus. So you need to have a clear boundary of the subject what you are implementing. So what are the various subject areas you are implementing as a part of the thesaurus? So you should be having a boundary of that subject area. So boundary definition will include identifying central subject areas and also the peripheral ones, since it is unlikely that all topics included are equal of importance. So you have to clearly define which are the subject areas which you are going to have as a part of the thesaurus, so that you will not be having unwanted subjects in the particular thing. So you should be specialized in one thing, that is, you should be having which are the main subject areas which you are implementing. You should not be giving equal importance for all the subject areas. So we should be specializing in one subject area where you will be implementing the thesaurus. And also you have to define which are the main subject areas and also which are the peripheral ones or the subsidiary ones. Okay, so that you will be having a clear idea of which particular thing is important here and which thesaurus with which subject this thesaurus is concerned. Okay. Once after clearly defining the subject area of your subject and also the boundaries of your subject, the domain is generally partitioned into divisions of sub areas. Okay. Now once after clearly defining your subject area, you are going to define or you are going to partition the subject area into various boundaries. That is, you are going to we are going to partition the subject area into divisions as sub areas, so that we can go in depth into those sub areas or divisions. Once the domain with its sub areas has been sufficiently defined, the desired characteristics of the thesaurus has to be identified. So once after finding out the sub areas or the divisions, what are the desired characteristics of your particular thesaurus? That is, what are the features which you are going to implement? In the previous session, we have looked about the features of the thesaurus. So what are the features and at what level you are going to implement this thesaurus? What should be your coordination level? What type of relationship between the terms you are going to identify? All those features of the thesaurus has to be identified now. So this will be the third step. The first step would be to identify your subject area. The second step would be to partition the subject area into various divisions. Then we will be identifying the desired characteristics of your thesaurus. What are the features which you are going to implement? Now the collection of the terms for each subject area may begin. Okay, once after defining what are the characteristics you want in your thesaurus, now you have to collect the terms related to each sub area which you have defined here. So the partitions are made in such a manner that you should be able to go in depth about the terms that are present in the sub area. Okay, so you have to collect the terms for each and every sub area you have defined here. Okay, that will be the fourth step. Now a variety of sources may be used for including indices. Okay, where you are going to collect these particular terms or words which constitute your thesaurus may include indices, encyclopedias, handbooks, textbooks, general titles, abstracts, catalogs, as well as any existing Even if you can include the existing thesauri or vocabulary systems as well. Okay, so the collection of terms has to be done from all these sources. Whatever may be the source, you have to bring the set of terms which are to be included in your information retrieval system. So those particular terms will be indexed in your thesaurus. Okay, so you have to collect all those terms from various sources. Subject experts and potential users of the thesaurus should also be included in this step. So while collecting the terms, you can include the subject experts as well as the potential users who will be using this information retrieval system. So we have to include all the people or all the users who can be affected by this particular thesaurus and collect the terms for that particular thesaurus. Okay, so this will be one important step, that is collection of terms for your thesaurus. Once after collecting your initial vocabulary, that is after having your initial vocabulary identified, each term is analyzed for its related vocabulary including synonyms, broader and narrow terms, and sometimes also definitions and scope notes. So once after identifying the terms, that will be a fourth step, identifying the terms of your thesaurus. Once after identifying the terms, you have to find the particular term synonyms, all those related terms for the particular terms. Okay, for each and every term you have to identify the synonyms, that is related vocabulary, which may include your synonyms, nearer terms, related terms, and also sometimes definitions and scopes also. Okay, we have been looking at all the possible terms for a given term. These terms and their relationships are then organized into structures such as hierarchies possible within each sub-area. Excuse me. Once after identifying your particular terms which are to be included in your thesaurus, you have to be able to provide relationships between these terms. So you are identifying the related terms for every term, but you have to form the relationship among the terms present in your thesaurus. So that will be the next important step which you have to do. The first important step would be identifying the subject area. The second important step would be the collection of the terms which are to be part of your thesaurus. The third important thing will be identifying the relationship between the terms. Okay, once after identifying the relationship between the terms, you should be able to move them in such a manner that they should be having either a equivalence relationships, or you might be having a hierarchical relationships or non-hierarchical relationships. You might be implementing some type of relationships. Those relationships have to be identified and implemented here. So once the initial organization has been completed, the entire thesaurus will have to be reviewed to check for consistency such as in phrase form and word form. So once after identifying the relationship between the terms and forming a hierarchy of terms present for your thesaurus, you will be getting an initial organization. This initial organization of the thesaurus has to be checked again for consistency of the terms and phrases which are present in the thesaurus. Remember, all these things are to be done manually. Okay, you will not be implementing any automatic algorithms to implement all these processes. They will be done by some users, so it has to be done manually for the complete process. Then it is a long process that involves a group of individuals and a variety of resources. As I told you, it will be involving large number of users to gather terms and also variety of resources where you will be getting the terms. So this is how you will be performing your thesaurus construction manually. And also, once the thesaurus has been designed and implemented for use within a retrieval system, that is, you have designed and implemented the thesaurus manually, and it can be used in your information retrieval system. The next problem is that it needs to be maintained in order to ensure its continuous validity and effectiveness. Okay, once if you have implemented the thesaurus manually and you have implemented that thing in one information retrieval system, the next important step what you have to do is you have to keep maintaining this thesaurus. That is, some words, that is, the thesaurus should reflect any changes in the terminology of the area. In the future times, whenever some of the terms get deleted or some of the terms rewritten, they might be having a new meaning. So some terms might be removed from the complete subject area. At that time, you should be able to update the thesaurus. So you should keep maintaining this thesaurus over the time and keep it consistent. Okay, that will be the next step. So I think you can understand by this thing we are having 4 different main steps regarding your thesaurus construction manually. The first one will be the subject area identification. Second one will be gathering of terms. Third one will be establishing the relationship between the terms. And fourth one, once after establishing the relationship, we will be getting the thesaurus, basic thesaurus. And from that, we have to be implementing that in an information retrieval system and keep maintaining it. That will be various steps in manual thesaurus construction. So, if you keep maintaining, you can understand that the thesaurus evolves with time and slowly responds to the change in the terminology of the subject. So, as you keep maintaining the particular thesaurus, over the time it will get evolved and they will be updated with new terms and updated terms. That will be about the manual thesaurus construction. Next, you are having the automatic thesaurus construction. You remember that the automatic thesaurus construction, you have to perform all those steps with some automatic algorithms. You should not be performing manually. Okay. In selecting automatic thesaurus construction approaches, the criteria used are they should be quite different and from each other. So most of the automatic thesaurus constructions which have been implemented so far have been quite different from one another, and they should properly use statistical techniques. They use proper purely statistical techniques to identify the terms from the text. Okay, so they have to be identifying the terms from the text automatically. So and they have to establish the relationship between the terms. All these things have to be done automatically. So most of the implementations, that is automatic methods, will use the statistical techniques to implement these thesaurus constructions. Okay, so to implement this automatic thesaurus construction, we are having 3 different approaches. The first approach is on designing thesaurus from the document collections, which is the standard one. That is, you have to create a thesaurus from the standard document collections. You will be having thesaurus which is to be created from the existing set of documents of text. Okay, so that will be the first type, that is first approach. The second one is merging existing thesaurus. Okay, so if you are already having some manual thesauruses or ones which are created automatically, they can be one or more can be merged to create a new effective thesaurus. Okay, so the second method is you can create a new thesaurus from existing thesaurus. Okay, third one is one based on your expert systems where thesaurus is built using information obtained from the users. Okay, based on the feedback from the users, okay, we can build an expert system which will create the thesaurus. So here the user is the main important source where the user is providing the searching material. Okay, he will be providing the queries, and based on his queries and the results that are coming from the information retrieval system, okay, the user can provide feedback about whether the results are good or not. Based on the result, it can create a thesaurus. Okay, so that will be a third type of technique where it is an automatic method which can build the thesaurus. So you are having 3 types. One is creating a thesaurus, that is creating a thesaurus from the scratch for the large collection of files. Okay, the second one is merging different thesaurus. Okay, this merging process can be either merging of existing thesaurus or merging of thesaurus which are built manually. Okay, and also manually and automatically you can merge more than one thesaurus and build a new one for a subject area. And third one is based on expert systems which will be taking the feedback of the user and also the search queries from the user and finding out what are the terms which are important and finding the thesaurus for that particular system. Okay, these are the 3 different approaches for your thesaurus construction which are done automatically. The first one is a collection of document items, that is automatic construction of your thesaurus by collection of document items. Here is the idea is to use the collection of documents as a source for your thesaurus construction. You will be having a set of documents. From that set of documents, you have to be creating a thesaurus. Okay. The idea is to apply statistical procedures to identify important terms as well as their significant relationships. Among the documents, what the system has to do is it has to be reading the contents from that particular document and using some statistical procedures. It should be able to identify the words which are important, okay, based upon the frequency of the terms or any other related statistical procedures. It should be able to identify the terms which are important and create the thesaurus for those terms. Okay, most of the automatic procedures or automatic methods of pure thesaurus construction will involve these statistical procedures. Okay, from the set of documents, it has to read the documents and identify the terms which are important based on some statistical procedures, and using those procedures, it has to identify the relationship between the terms as well. Okay, the central thesis is applying statistical methods to use computationally simpler methods to identify more important semantic knowledge for your thesaurus. Okay, the central idea of this complete automatic methods is using your statistical methods to identify both the terms as well as the semantic information between the terms. Okay, the semantic information between the terms is used to identify the relationship between the terms. Okay, this is how you are going to build your thesaurus by using your large collection of document items. Okay, it is the semantic knowledge that is used for both indexing as well as searching. Okay, that semantic information which you have gathered during by your what you can call it as this statistical methods. Those statistical methods will provide the semantic information. That semantic information will be used both during indexing as well as searching processes. Okay, the next type is your merging existing thesauri. As I told you, the second approach is appropriate when two or more thesauri for a given subject exist that need to be merged into a single unit. If you are already having, if you are already having two or more thesaurus which can be merged for a particular subject area, you can be merging them. So these might be manual thesauri or automatic thesauri. They can be merged into a single unit. So if new database can be indeed served by merging two or more existing thesauri, then a merger perhaps is likely to be more efficient than producing a thesauri from scratch. Instead of building a thesauri from the scratch, you can be merging the existing thesauri and creating an effective one. Okay. While merging is done, you have to be looking about what are the terms which are present in various thesauri, and also you should be able to merge them clearly. Why? Because you might be having the repeated terms. If they are matching terms, you should be able to match or merge it properly. That is, while merging, you will be having terms repeated in one thesauri and another thesauri. So while creating the merging part, you should be able to map the hierarchical relationships clearly. Okay, that is how you will be performing your merging thesaurus. And the last one, user-generated thesauri. As I told you, you will be using the expert systems and create a user-generated thesauri. In this third alternative, the idea is that users of your information retrieval system are aware of and use many term relationships in their search strategies long before these find their way into the thesaurus. So what is the main crux of this particular system is the user will be having the idea of what he is going to search and what is the relationship between various terms which he is searching. So all this information can be taken from the user, okay, and that information can be used to build your thesaurus. So if you are having various words, those words are usually from the user. Those words can be meant to be in your thesaurus. Okay, so we'll be taking the information from the user to build your thesaurus, and that is how it will be done by using third alternative. The objective is to capture this knowledge from the user's search. Okay, based upon the user search and user's information, we will be creating the automatic thesaurus. So these are the three various methods. One is your documents. The second one is merging the existing thesaurus. Third one is your user-generated thesaurus for expert systems. Okay, so the first part you have seen that thesaurus construction from large text bodies. That is, thesaurus construction from a large set of documents. So it is usually done like this, where you will be performing thesaurus construction from text. Okay. The overall process may be divided into three types. The first part, that is, you have to construct a thesaurus for a large set of documents. Those documents usually contain text. Okay, so while performing this process, you will be using three different steps. The first step is the construction of the vocabulary. That is, this involves normalization and selection of terms. So you have to be able to find which are terms. So the thesaurus has to be manually checking the text present in the documents. So it has to monitor the text and retrieve terms which are like what we can call it as stems for your thesaurus. Okay, you have to gather as many terms as possible which will be making your thesaurus. Okay, this will involve normalization and selection of terms. It also includes phrase construction depending upon the coordination level desired. Okay, based upon the coordination level you are implementing, whether your phrase can contain 2 terms or 3 terms, based upon the coordination level you are implementing, based on the coordination level you can create your phrases in your thesaurus. So this is the first part, there you are constructing the vocabulary. Once after constructing the vocabulary, you have to find the similarity computation between the terms. So as you know, once after identifying the terms in any thesaurus, you have to be able to find the relationship between the thesaurus terms. So now, to find the relationship between, you have to do the similarity computation between the terms. This step identifies the significant statistical association between the terms. So to identify the relationship between terms, we will be using the statistical methods. Using the statistical methods, you can find which are similar terms. Okay, so by that we can find the relationship between the terms. Organizing of your vocabulary. Okay, once after identifying your terms and similar terms and the relationship between the terms, we should be able to organize the vocabulary in any one method. That is, here the selected vocabulary is organized generally into a hierarchy on the basis of the associations. Okay, based upon the associations you are having, you will be organizing your vocabulary terms into a hierarchy. Okay, based upon the relationships, how you are going to implement the relationships, you will be having this method. In the last session, I told you how you will be having various types of relationship between the terms. So you can implement any of those relationships. Usually, hierarchical relationships are implemented between the terms. Okay, so far we have seen about how you can construct a thesaurus, that is, whether you can go for a manual construction or your automatic construction. Your manual construction will involve large number of users and collecting terms from large number of resources. Okay, but the construction will take a large amount of time, and it will be having some issues as well based upon the size of your thesaurus. Your automatic methods are very complex to implement. Why? Because you are having numerous steps to perform while thesaurus construction. That is, you have to identify the terms, you have to identify the relationship between the terms, okay, and also organize those terms in the vocabulary according to your hierarchy. So there are numerous steps, and these steps are very complex to implement. That is why automatic methods are very few. Okay, but usually it is done manually and implemented into the information retrieval systems. With that, we have come to the end of your information retrieval system course. Thank you.